What's up, everybody? It is the Best Spot Kids Move, and I have an unpopular opinion about the upcoming Stellar Blade. Now, as you guys can see, I'm an Xbox fan, and people will say a video like this or a take like this is very much expected from a person like me. And I really don't care. But I played Stellar Blade, the demo, had an incredible time with it. I'm likely going to buy the game, but I do have a couple issues with this game. Just like I have issues with, like, Rise of the Ronin and these pseudo PlayStation exclusives like that. In the grand scheme of things, isn't probably the best thing for the product, and these games are sort of being like oversold, which is leading them to be it's leading them to unnecessary reception, and they're not going to be able to live up to the hype of being a PlayStation 5 exclusive. So PlayStation has been firing off earlier this year with, like, I would say, positive things. They have content. There's a ton of content for like the first 3 months of the year. When you consider Final Fantasy Rebirth, Rise of the Ronin, Stellar Blade, Foam Stars, they just had like a fury of exclusive. Helldivers 2, obviously, and for a year like what it is for 2024, there's nothing extravagant really for PlayStation or for PlayStation first party. For them to dump all their exclusive or their second party and third party exclusive right at the start is very odd, because it leaves the rest of the year to be very waning. I can see if this was like a Grand Theft Auto year and stuff like that, it's excusable. There's no Spider-Man, there's no Last of Us, there's no Horizon or anything like that that's coming to rescue the PlayStation first party's output. So right now, there's how I view PlayStation, right? And this is, you can look at this good or bad. I associate PlayStation, when they put out an exclusive, I anticipate the game to meet the level of expectation that PlayStation first party games exceeds or hits. And you would think PlayStation signs on games that resonates with PlayStation and PlayStation first party and PlayStation fans. So you like, this is going to be anytime PlayStation signs on a third party or second party game, you like, this is going to be an above average experience based off his historical success, historical performance, historical releases. These games are going to be above what we expect. And I think what we're witnessing is really desperation out of PlayStation in terms of their releases, and we're starting to see the chink in that armor. And this is not a PlayStation versus Xbox video. Right now, Xbox is dead in the water. But this is just more so how I see things, and which brings me to games like Stellar Blade, right? But the reason why I have to bring up other games, you got games like Helldivers 2, right? Which, all in all, I don't even know how much Helldivers was. It was like a 40. It was a budget game, man. Good game, fun game. It's a budget game. It did its job and it had success. Probably the best, risk or sign on that PlayStation has done. And if PlayStation's ushering their version of games as a service in that way, then Helldivers did its job. Kudos, right? Foam Stars, I'm not sure why. Foam Stars, and this is where things get stupid. Helldivers, they did it the right way. Helldivers is a game that thrive off players. Steam is helping sell games by virtue of player counting. Helldivers benefited from that. Pal World benefited for that. A game like Foam Stars doesn't, because it's a games as a service exclusive to PlayStation 5. A games as a service that needs more players exclusive to PlayStation 5. Okay. Then here comes mine. I add you, that game's flopped. It's dead in the water. It should have been a everywhere release, and it should have probably been free to play. But and the game's not on PC. So, and then you got Rise of the Ronin. Now, Rise of the Ronin, again, when you first saw the trailers, you were thinking, oh my God, this is going to be like, Sekiro. This is going to be like Ghost of Tsushima. This is why PlayStation signed on to it. But honestly, it is a budget version of, all those games. It's another version of Neo. It's another Wolong Fallen Dynasty, which was one of my favorite games of 2023, but it's worse than those games. It did nothing better than any of those games. The only thing it did that gave the game more recognition than a game like Wolong, more recognition than a game like what's the game that came out last year, Liza P, is that it was a PlayStation 5 exclusive. So if you get the PlayStation exclusive stamp, you get this unanimous amount of support and expectation. And it didn't live up to the hype because visually it was underwhelming on a graphic side. Overall, it wasn't something it was something we played before. It was nothing new. It did nothing spectacular, and it was overpriced for what it was. And which brings me to Stellar Blade, which is probably outside of Final Fantasy is going to be the better of these initiative games that PlayStation has signed on. Stellar Blade. Now, the story about Stellar Blade, and I apologize for the first 5 minutes of the video because it was a rant, but the story about Stellar Blade is interesting. This game was introduced, I believe back in 2018, 2019 as Project Eve, and it was originally slated to be a multi-platform experience targeting the PS4, the Xbox One, and I believe PC. The game went dark for a while, and then it reemerged as Stellar Blade, and now a PlayStation 5 exclusives. So we had this AA $40-$50 game that was targeting last generation, right? And that's probably, and it's still that same game after I played the demo. However, PlayStation money had it eliminated half its audience, potential audience, and confined it to one audience. So from a commercial standpoint, this game is not going to be very successful. But PlayStation is doing a great job marketing it off that, but just off the strength of numbers and what the original target was, is not going to reach the people they wanted to reach overall. It'll get an audience. It has an audience, and right now the thing that's going for it is it's a PlayStation exclusive, and you got the main protagonist is very gelatin body-wise. It is going to attract a lot of horny gamers and whatnot. I have no problem with it. Do what you do. But the moral is PlayStation is taking this budgeted game, which means I don't think it costs a lot to make. They made it a PlayStation 5 exclusive, so it's no longer coming to Xbox, no longer coming to the last gen consoles it was targeting, and it may come to PC at some point in the next several months, right? Now I say that to say this. This game is going for $69.99. The only thing PlayStation did for this game is gave it marketing that it probably wouldn't have, which it will get some. It's going to sell something. So it gives it marketing, and it bloated the price an extra $30. And the game is not going to meet whatever expectation we have for it being a PlayStation exclusive. Now, as far as the game itself, the demo, like I said, it's fun. It does its job. It serves its purpose for the genre that is in. I wish for more of these games that come out. But the truth of the matter is, more of these games do exist. They are available. You could download them. They're in your store for about $30, $40. They just don't have no marketing. They don't have a large publisher, but they have a decent, showing. Some of these games visually are appealing. Performance-wise, they're good. They just don't have a financial backing or a marketing team or a marketing push, so they're just buried in these digital stores until someone comes across them. Stellar Blade is one of those with a big marketing push. Now, the issues I have with Stellar Blade is that it is a budget title packaged in a AAA delivery system. It's a $70 price tag. They're selling it $70 for the base game, $80 if you want some extra costumes, right? So you got that. But when you turn on the game itself. Yeah, the gameplay is cool. It has a few mechanics. It borrows from a little bit of everything. It's not quite a Souls game. Not but it's more like, your Devil May Cries, your Cold Veins and stuff like that. But it has a kick to it. It has a decent sci-fi story that's passable, right? You're not gonna, it's not gonna touch you emotionally anywhere. Not like games should, but the story is not going to knock it out the park. It's not like an Oscar or Game Award winning game, right? Performance-wise, it's not doing anything different that we didn't get before in the other games. Like the games, like, sure, it gives you like the little resting system like the Souls games. It gives you the dodge parry system like the Sekiros and stuff like that. But in the standard action combat that are, our beloved titles like Nier and freaking Devil May Cry, all that stuff. And it has that Korean, Japanese, whatever, push, that aura, that aesthetic that works for it, and it's sexy, right? The gameplay itself, is decent. It's fun. It's not bad. It's fun. Graphically, the game is mediocre graphically. And I say that because I played this game in every mode that it has. Now, I know it's a demo. Chances are, could it be a little bit more polished for the final release? Possibly. I don't know how old the demo build is, but from what I played, graphically, whether it's balance mode, performance mode, or the quality mode, it's not a pretty game. It's not that sharp. Whatever temporal reconstruction upscaler they're using to try to meet whatever resolutions, it's very noisy. I tried in balance mode because it's targeting the highest resolution and it unlocks the frame rate, and so you get a decent outcome. The frame rate's all over the place in that mode, but it works if you have a VRR display. It's decent, but I don't like the image breakup. And I think that I don't know what resolution upscaler or image reconstruction system they got going on. It's just too noisy. So I tried to do it in performance mode, which I believe, well, I thought it would give you a native resolution at like 1440p, 60 FPS. Again, the image breakup is still there, still an ashy looking game. With the resolution mode, and the 30 frames don't help because you get that ghosting effect along with the image breakup. So yeah, things get a little bit sharper, a little crisper, but still not to what I expect. Mind you, this game is exclusive only to the PlayStation 5. Like but it doesn't look like this is like a Gen 9 game at all. Like it really doesn't. So and that's why I say the image is very mediocre. Now I'm sure there's going to be different biomes, and there's going to be places where this game probably shines in the full game. But from the demo that we got, it's not doing anything visually for me. There's some like old school like mechanics in here. Like you have to turn on like auto loot. I mean, that's a personal preference. I just think it just should be on. You don't want to be in the middle of a fight and there's just loot dropping, and then you got to press a separate button to pick it up. It's just like, come on. So, and this is not me bashing the game. I don't think this is a bad game. I do think it's being oversold and it's overpriced because we're still getting a budgeted game with a decent marketing deal, with a decent marketing push. It has decent marketing, but it's still a budgeted game. And this is where a few weeks ago on Weapon Wheel, when we were talking about Rise of the Ronin and we were talking about Stellar Blade, and I said these games are going to be flops. They're going to flop. They're going to be failures because they're being put out to push the PlayStation 5. These are supposed to sell the PlayStation 5 this year because there's no Spider-Man, there's no Last of Us, there's no God of War. These are the games. And these aren't first-party games. These were games initially regular $50 games, probably, in their origin before they were money had it by PlayStation and then pushed to $70. So now they hit with these unbelievable expectations. We saw Rise of the Ronin as a PS5 exclusive. We thought it was the second coming of Ghost of Tsushima, and what it turned out to be, it's just a mediocre freaking Team Ninja game. Just another one of their run amok Team Ninja games, which I think their best game in recent history has been Wolong, and it couldn't even meet that. And this is the open world. It had the open world aspect. Now you got Stellar Blade, like I said, which has been trending for different reasons other than the game itself, whether it's booty pics, Eve climbing the ladder, her birthday suit, her skin tight suits, the jiggly mechanics and whatnot has been getting the game notoriety. But how is this game going to perform overall? I do not think it's going to be a commercial success, because the crazy thing is these games are fine as is. They're regular games. They're good, but not only do you have the expectation like, hey, you know, PlayStation produces bangers. These games are not bangers. They're average. They're average regular games, and they're being portrayed as AAA bangers, and they're not. So when you finally get your hands on them, I'm like, eh. And that's how a game like Rise of the Ronin lands in like the 70s. This is how Stellar Blade will probably land in the 70s, or even, and the thing is, the thing about the gaming industry and journalists, they are prisoner of the moment. So if they're feeling a bit dry, if they haven't come across a good game in a little while, and then they finally get a game that's decent, their impression of this game becomes bloated, and they praise it more than, and give it scores more than it deserves, because of the lack of decent games for the time period. And that's what happens, because if you put this game up with games that came out last year, or games that led PlayStation last year, or games that led PlayStation in 2022 and in 2021, it doesn't hold a candle to any of them. It's an average game. Now, a game like this and a game like Rise of the Ronin would have thrived by being available on the PC, because you can get the best. Like, I'm trying to get the best out of Stellar Blade. I was like, but it's where it peaks at on PlayStation 5 is where it peaks at, and to me, it's not a visually pleasing game. Maybe on PC, when it finally comes, you get, you know, those ray tracing, you get those higher frame rates, you get that native resolution that will resolve the problems that I currently have with the PS5 build. And the same thing with Rise of the Ronin. They got all this crap going on with the game, and it just turns out a subpar image, which can probably fully be resolved on the PC. So it's like they're taking these games that, you know, could shine, that could perform, that could get a wider audience. They're narrowing the audience, they're bloating the price, and these games are doomed to fail. And then I'm not trying to say Stellar Blade will fail. I just don't think it's going to hit the expectations. Right now, people are going to big up this game because they're hungry. They're starving for a decent game. Now, if Final Fantasy is doing what it's supposed to do on PlayStation Rebirth, which I know those sales are down, and if Helldivers is keeping people, oh good, is Rise of the Ronin supposed to be the game, then Stellar Blade isn't going to do its job unless those games were underwhelming. If those games are underwhelming and this is it, and that is it. But like, I'll tell you guys this. I am interested in Stellar Blade. And I do want to play the game. However, and I'll close this video like this. However, the only people who should be buying Stellar Blade for $69.99 or $79.99 if those who suffer from FOMO, those who suffer from fear of missing out. If you suffer badly from that disorder in gaming, then yeah, go ahead, buy it and solve that, so you feel special, you feel part of something. Me personally, my recommendation, this is a game that you feel it becomes valuable at $40 or $50. This is like, okay, this is a good pickup. $50, $40, this is a good pickup. $70, $80, this is not a good pickup at all by any stretch of the imagination. A matter of fact, if this was available on PC day one, I would have bought the game there on like freaking CD keys, because I know it would have been discounted already. And again, it's not, I didn't support the games. I know that, but it's not it. I don't think this game is worth $70. This game is not worth $70. In my, humble, broke opinion, whatever you want to call me, this game is not worth $70. But I do want to play it. I do want to buy the full game. I just don't think $70 is a healthy price. I think that will be irresponsible for me to buy this game at $70, and irresponsible for any adult, who plays video games to buy this game at $70, because there are several games that are available today in a store that's higher quality, that will give you a good time, and that is of better quality, that is running for like $39.99, $49.99, and you would not regret. You know what I mean? But that's my video for today. I know it's a bit long-winded. I went 20 minutes, but it is what it is. Call this a mini podcast, whatever. But that's my video on Stellar Blade, the demo. I'm looking forward to the game. I haven't pre-ordered it. I'm hoping, something happens where I can get this game at a discounted rate so I can justify the purchase for day one. There's nothing to justify day one at $70, man. That's my video. As always, Xbox is the best box, and I am the best spot. Good night or good morning if you're on the other side of the globe. I'm out of here. Peace.